Admiral Eliza Voss stood alone at the center of the massive chamber, her blue uniform a stark contrast against the obsidian floor that seemed to swallow light itself. 50 meters above, rising in concentric semicircles, sat the representatives of the Galactic Council, nearly 300 species, each controlling vast territories across the Milky Way. Some appeared almost human, others defied description. Many watched through sensory organs that weren't eyes at all. This was humanity's first official appearance before the full council. The chamber had been designed to intimidate, and it worked. The air felt heavy, charged with tension and alien sense. Species 4572b, designation human, you have been summoned to answer for violations of Galactic Border Treaty 7829, announced High Arbiter Drell, a 12-foot amphibious being whose translucent skin revealed pulsing internal organs. His voice boomed through the chamber without any visible amplification technology. Your expansion beyond the Orion Spur exceeds permitted boundaries for a Level 3 civilization. Voss stood firm, her weathered face revealing nothing. At 62, she had spent 4 decades in Earth's space forces, commanding ships through the Belt Wars and First Contact. Now she represented 4 billion humans spread across 27 worlds. The United Earth Alliance acknowledges the Council's concerns, she replied, her voice clear and strong. However, we reject the premise of these proceedings. Earth signed no treaty limiting our expansion. We were never consulted regarding these permitted boundaries. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A reptilian delegate from the upper tier leaned forward, scales shimmering under the chamber's cold light. You were not consulted because your species had not achieved sufficient technological advancement to warrant consultation, the reptilian said, mandibles clicking with each syllable. Your rapid progression from planetary civilization to multi-system colonization has occurred at 17 times the standard rate. This presents a destabilizing influence. Voss raised an eyebrow. So our crime is learning too quickly? Your crime, interrupted a massive being with an exoskeleton that looked like polished metal, is behaving exactly as your historical pattern predicts. Humans expand, humans consume, humans conquer. We have studied your history extensively. Your species has never encountered another group without eventually attempting domination. The Admiral took a deliberate step forward. Several security drones immediately positioned themselves around her, but she ignored them. The Taurian hegemony speaks of domination, Voss said, addressing the metallic being directly. Your empire controls 78 systems. Earth has settled 27 uninhabited worlds. We have initiated trade with 12 non-human species. We have conquered no one. Yet, said Drell, the Council's predictive models are quite clear. Within 300 cycles, human expansion will encompass 16% of galactic habitable systems. Your neural augmentation technologies advance exponentially. Your adaptive biology allows colonization of worlds that would kill most species. A holographic display activated above the chamber floor, showing Earth's current territory outlined in blue. A red boundary appeared around it, far smaller than their existing borders. This shall be the permanent boundary for human expansion, declared Drell. Furthermore, all human military vessels beyond your home system will be subject to Council inspection and regulation. Any ship with offensive capabilities exceeding Council-approved limits will be seized. Voss looked at the projection, then back at the High Arbiter. And if we refuse these terms? The chamber fell silent. Drell's skin darkened slightly, a biological tell Voss had been briefed about. It signaled satisfaction. Then the Council will have no choice but to reclassify humanity as a Class 9 volatile species. Containment protocols would be authorized, including quarantine and, if necessary, sterilization. Sterilization, the diplomatic word for genocide. Voss touched her neural implant, a small silver disc at her temple. Information flowed directly into her mind. Mission parameters, strategic assessments, contingency plans. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this. I must confer with my government, she said. You have been granted full negotiation authority, Drell replied. Your transmission logs confirm this. The terms are non-negotiable. Accept or face classification as a volatile species. Voss nodded slowly. You've studied our history but missed something important. She removed a small device from her pocket. Security drones instantly targeted her, weapon ports opening. This is not a weapon, she said calmly, placing the device on the floor. It projected a hologram of Earth's fleet, modest compared to the combined might of the Council races. This is a reminder of something you should have learned from our history. Humans are at their most dangerous when cornered. She tapped the device again. The hologram shifted to reveal something that caused several Council members to rise in alarm. A network of spatial anomalies surrounding human territory, each pulsing with energy signatures never before documented. While you've been debating our fate, we've been preparing for this moment, Voss said, her voice level. These are dimensional anchors. Technology we developed after studying debris from an ancient ship we found on Mars. Each one can generate a localized spacetime, distortion affecting a radius of approximately 1 light-year. Impossible, hissed the reptilian delegate. No level 3 civilization could possibly— That's your problem, Voss interrupted. You keep underestimating us. These anchors are currently in passive mode. If activated, they will create temporary rifts in spacetime. We've tested them. They work. The Tarian representative slammed a massive limb down. You threaten the Council with untested weapons of mass destruction? Not untested, and not a threat, a response to your threat of genocide. Voss activated her neural implant again. Suddenly, every communication system in the chamber went dead. The security drones dropped to the floor. For 3 terrifying seconds, the artificial gravity fluctuated. When systems restored, Admiral Voss was walking toward the exit. Earth hereby declares itself at war with any entity that threatens our extinction. We did not seek this conflict, but we will finish it. You have 24 hours to rescind your judgment before we demonstrate exactly why your classification of humanity might actually be correct, but woefully underestimated. The doors sealed behind her, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Outside the chamber, Voss met her aide, Lieutenant Marcus Reed, a young officer whose calm under pressure had earned him this assignment. Did they take the bait, Admiral? He asked quietly as they walked briskly toward their shuttle. Completely, Voss replied. They believe we have technology we don't fully understand. That gives us time. Time for what, exactly? Voss stopped, looking back at the Council headquarters. A massive structure orbiting a neutron star, a display of engineering prowess meant to humble visitors. Time to build actual defenses. Those dimensional anchors are mostly for show. They create small distortions, nothing more. But the Council doesn't know that. She smiled grimly. We've bought Earth 24 hours. Let's hope Director Nakamura's team can work with that. As their shuttle departed, neither noticed the small drone that had followed them, recording every word. The first shots in an impossible war had been fired, not with weapons, but with words and deception. And Admiral Eliza Voss had just committed humanity to a conflict against enemies who controlled thousands of worlds across the galaxy. The odds seemed impossible. But then humans had always been good at beating the odds. Director James Nakamura stood in the heart of Luna Command, Earth's hidden military headquarters buried 2 miles beneath the lunar surface. Around him, dozens of officers and scientists monitored wall-sized displays, showing real-time data from across human space. The largest screen tracked a countdown, 1942-13 remaining until the Council's deadline. Tell me we have something, Nakamura said, his voice tight with controlled tension. Dr. Anya Petrova, head of the Dimensional Research Division, stepped forward. Her eyes, enhanced with neural interfaces that gave them a subtle blue glow, darted between multiple holographic displays only she could see. We've accelerated the Lazarus protocol, she said. All 17 hidden facilities are now at full production. Nakamura nodded. For 20 years, Earth had been preparing for this day since the discovery of the crashed alien vessel on Mars revealed the existence of the Galactic Council and their habit of sterilizing species they deemed threatening. The Luna Command Center buzzed with activity as tactical officers coordinated with Earth's 27 colony worlds. Officially, humanity possessed a modest fleet of 40 defensive vessels. Unofficially, there were other assets, hidden in asteroid fields disguised as mining operations, or concealed within the atmospheres of gas giants. A communication alert flashed. Admiral Voss's face appeared on the central screen, transmitted from her shuttle returning from the Council headquarters. Director, we have complications, she reported. Our conversation after leaving the Council chamber was recorded. They know the dimensional anchors are largely non-functional. Nakamura's expression didn't change, but his hands tightened into fists. How soon can you return to Earth space? 17 hours, assuming we don't encounter Council vessels. You'll encounter them, said General Rivera, the weathered head of Earth's defense forces. They're already mobilizing. Long-range sensors show fleet movements from at least 6 Council species. Voss's image flickered slightly, a sign of Council attempts to intercept their communications. Then we proceed with Lazarus ahead of schedule. Authorization code Voss Delta 97. Nakamura looked to Dr. Petrova, who nodded grimly. Initiating now, she said, her fingers dancing through holographic controls only she could see through her neural interface. Throughout human space, hidden facilities activated. Deep within gas giants, massive structures rose toward the upper atmospheres. In asteroid fields, what appeared to be mining operations suddenly reconfigured, revealing weapon ports and propulsion systems. Back in Luna Command, Nakamura addressed his staff. The Council believes we're bluffing. They think our dimensional technology is primitive. Let's show them how wrong they are. The main screen shifted to show a massive structure orbiting Jupiter, an enormous ring 70 kilometers in diameter, constructed in secret over the past decade. The Jupiter Gate is operational? Nakamura asked. At 87% capacity, confirmed Dr. Petrova. Enough for what we need. General Rivera stepped forward. We should evacuate high-priority personnel and resources through the gate now, before the Council arrives. No, said Nakamura firmly. No evacuations. That would signal fear. We stand our ground. He turned to a communications officer. Prepare a system-wide broadcast. All channels, all colonies. Minutes later, his face appeared on screens across human territory, on Earth, Mars, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and every colony world. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, he began. 24 hours ago, the Galactic Council threatened our extinction if we did not accept permanent restrictions on human development and expansion. They expected submission. Instead, they received our declaration of war. He paused, letting the gravity of the situation sink in. This is not a war we sought, but it is a war we have long prepared for. Since the Mars discovery 20 years ago, we have developed technologies and strategies specifically designed to defend against superior forces. Today, we activate those defenses. The broadcast showed the Jupiter Gate beginning to glow, energy patterns swirling across its massive structure. We are not alone in this fight, Nakamura continued. There are others in this galaxy who have suffered under Council dominance. Today, we open the door to our allies. The Jupiter Gate flared brilliantly, energy cascading across its circumference. In the center, space itself seemed to tear open, revealing a swirling vortex of light and color. In Luna Command, all eyes were fixed on the sensors monitoring the gate. Stable connection established, reported Dr. Petrova. Receiving. Transmission. A new image appeared on the screens across human space, a being that appeared almost crystalline, with a form that shifted and refracted light. When it spoke, its voice was a harmonic resonance translated by human computers. People of Earth, the crystalline entity said. I am Nexus, representative of the Veiled Concordate. For millennia, we have existed in dimensional space adjacent to your reality, observing the Council's pattern of suppression and extinction. Today, we answer your call for alliance. Behind Nexus, shadowy forms of vessels could be seen. Hundreds of them, their designs unlike anything in Council records. The Council fears your potential, Nexus continued. We recognize it. Together we will end their tyranny. The broadcast ended, leaving billions of humans in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just witnessed. In Luna Command, Admiral Voss's image reappeared on the screen. Director, Council ships have detected the Dimensional Gate's energy signature. They're changing course to intercept. Current ETA at Jupiter, 14 hours. Nakamura turned to General Rivera. Deploy the fleet, all of it. Position defensive units near each colony world and establish a perimeter at the edge of the solar system. The Council's combined forces outnumber us at least 20 to 1, Rivera warned. Numbers won't matter, said Dr. Petrova. Not anymore. She activated a separate display, showing what appeared to be standard Earth defense vessels but with modifications. The Concordate provided the final components we needed. These ships are now equipped with dimensional shift drives, Meaning? Asked Rivera. Meaning they can partially phase between dimensions. Council weapons will pass right through them when the drives are active. Nakamura nodded in approval. And our weapons? Modified to operate across dimensional boundaries. We can hit them. They can't hit us. For the first time since the crisis began, Nakamura allowed himself a small smile. Deploy the fleet, General, but hold at defensive positions only. We don't strike first. As Earth forces mobilized across the solar system, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Emergency sessions were called as the implications of humanity's alliance with extra-dimensional beings became clear. High Arbiter Drell faced the assembled representatives, his skin now pale with stress. The human deception is worse than we feared. They have made contact with entities from beyond our reality. The Taurian representative's metallic exoskeleton clicked with agitation. How is this possible? No species has ever successfully established stable contact with the dimensional anomalies. Apparently humans have, responded a slender avian delegate. The question is, what do we do now? Drell's reply was cut short by an aide rushing into the chamber, a serious breach of protocol that silenced everyone. High Arbiter, the aide gasped. We're receiving reports from across Council space. Dimensional rifts are opening near major fleet installations. Multiple ships report weapons and propulsion failures. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Drell pounded his appendage for order. It seems, he said when quiet was restored, that humans are more dangerous than even our worst models predicted. They have not only allied with dimensional beings, they have coordinated an attack across our entire territory. Back on the shuttle returning to Earth, Admiral Voss received the update with satisfaction. The Concordat is keeping their promise, she told Lieutenant Reed. Targeted dimensional disruptions across Council space. No casualties, just disabled ships and scared politicians. Will it be enough? Reed asked. The Council has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They won't surrender easily. Voss looked out at the stars. We don't need their surrender, Lieutenant. Just their respect. And their fear. As Council ships approached Jupiter, they encountered something unprecedented. A fleet that seemed to flicker in and out of reality. Impossible to target. Council weapons passed harmlessly through human vessels, while precisely targeted Earth fire disabled Council ships without destroying them. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration, and across the galaxy other species watched with growing hope as the unthinkable happened. Someone was standing up to the Galactic Council. And winning. Commander Alex Reyes stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Harmony, watching as they approached the massive space station known as Nexus Point. The station hung in orbit around a binary star system, its structure unlike any human design, crystalline spires and curved sections that seemed to reflect light in impossible ways. This was the gathering place of the veiled Concordat, Earth's new allies from dimensional space. And today, representatives from 17 other species were arriving, all victims of Council oppression, all seeking to join what was quickly becoming a galactic revolution. Quite a sight, isn't it? Asked Dr. Layla Khan, Earth's foremost xenolinguist. Her neural implants allowed her to process and translate dozens of alien languages simultaneously. Hard to believe 2 weeks ago most humans didn't know any of this existed. Reyes nodded. 2 weeks since Admiral Voss had declared war on the Galactic Council. 2 weeks of careful, strategic operations that had left the Council reeling without causing mass casualties. Earth had made its point clear. They could have inflicted devastating damage but chose restraint. We're receiving clearance to dock, reported Lieutenant Olivia Diaz from the pilot's seat. Concordat Control says the representatives are waiting. The Harmony eased into a docking port that reconfigured itself to match the ship's dimensions perfectly. As the airlock cycled, Reyes straightened his uniform. This meeting would determine the future direction of the conflict. Inside the station, the Earth delegation was led through corridors that seemed to shift subtly as they walked, creating an unsettling sense of movement. They entered an enormous chamber where representatives from across the galaxy waited. Some were immediately recognizable from Earth's xenobiology database, the tree-like arboreals, the silicon-based Lithians, the aquatic marinar who floated in personal water tanks. Others were completely unknown, their forms barely comprehensible to human perception. At the center, representing the Concordat, stood Nexus, the crystalline entity whose alliance had changed everything. Beside it hovered a holographic display showing Admiral Voss and Director Nakamura participating remotely from Luna Command. "The Alliance of Free Species welcomes Earth," Nexus announced, its harmonic voice resonating through the chamber. "Today we formalize our coalition against Council tyranny." Reyes stepped forward. "Earth is honored to join you, but we must be clear about our objectives. This is not a war of annihilation. We seek to end the Council's policy of suppression, not to destroy its member species." A rumble of discussion followed. Not all shared Earth's restraint. The Arboreals, whose homeworld had been partially sterilized by Council forces a century ago, were particularly vocal about more aggressive action. "The Council shows no mercy," their representative said, branches rustling with emotion. "Why should we?" "Because mercy is strength," responded Dr. Khan. "We fight not just to win, but to create something better afterward." The debate continued for hours. Some species wanted revenge. Others sought territory. Some simply wanted to be left alone. Through it all, the Earth delegation advocated for a unified approach, strategic pressure rather than wholesale destruction. Finally, a consensus emerged. The Alliance would target the Council's ability to project power while minimizing civilian casualties. Earth's dimensional technology combined with the Concordate's knowledge would be the foundation of their strategy. As the meeting concluded, an urgent alert sounded. A massive hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a Council fleet approaching a small agricultural world, Harmony 7, one of Earth's newest colonies. "They're testing our resolve," said Admiral Voss from Luna Command. "Targeting our most vulnerable outpost." Nexus's crystalline form shifted, refracting light in patterns that indicated agitation. "This is their response to our coalition. They believe we are too divided to respond effectively." Reyes watched the hologram with growing concern. Harmony 7 had minimal defenses and a population of only 30,000. "Can we deploy dimensional shields to the colony?" "Not in time," replied Director Nakamura. "But we have another option." He nodded to someone off-screen, and the hologram shifted to show a different fleet. Vessels of Earth design but with concordant modifications, already moving to intercept the Council forces. "The Liberty Fleet," explained Nakamura. "Our newest ships with full dimensional integration. They've been on standby near the Tau Ceti waypoint." The representatives watched as the Liberty Fleet engaged the Council ships. The battle was unlike anything most had seen. Earth vessels phasing in and out of normal space, firing weapons that ignored conventional shields. Council ships found themselves disabled rather than destroyed. Weapons and propulsion systems rendered inoperative by precise strikes. Within 20 minutes, the Council fleet was neutralized without a single ship destroyed. The message was clear. Earth could have annihilated them but chose not to. "This is how we win," said Commander Reyes, addressing the chamber, "not through destruction, but through demonstrating a better way." Many representatives nodded in agreement, though some still seemed unsatisfied with the restraint shown. But an alliance had been formed and a strategy agreed upon. As the meeting adjourned, Reyes was approached by a small, insectoid being he recognized as a Zenthi, a species known for their intelligence network throughout Council space. "Commander," the Zenthi said, mandibles clicking softly, "there is something you should know. Something we discovered in our data archives that the Council has suppressed for millennia." The Zenthi extended a data crystal. "This contains historical records predating the Council. Records that may explain why they fear humans so particularly." Back on the Harmony, Reyes, Khan, and Diaz gathered around a secure terminal to review the Zenthi data. What they found left them stunned. "This can't be right," whispered Dr. Khan as she studied the ancient records. According to this, humans, or beings remarkably similar to humans, once controlled a vast interstellar network across this galaxy. "Over 50,000 years ago, the First Dominion," Reyes read aloud. "A civilization that spanned nearly 40% of the Milky Way, with technology far beyond current Council capabilities." Lieutenant Diaz pointed to another section of data. "It says they vanished suddenly. No explanation given, and shortly afterward the precursors to the current Council species began their expansion." "Not just expansion," said Dr. Khan grimly, highlighting a section of text. "Look at this. The early Council actively worked to eliminate all traces of the First Dominion. They destroyed artifacts, erased records, even genetically modified less advanced species to remove any connection. Reyes sat back, his mind racing with implications. So when they encountered us, they recognized something, finished Khan. Something in our genetic structure, our neural patterns, our technological approach. Something that reminded them of the first dominion they had worked so hard to erase from history. We need to get this information to Luna Command immediately, said Reyes. And we need to search Earth's archaeological records. If we're somehow connected to this ancient civilization, there might be evidence on our own planet that we've overlooked. As the Harmony prepared to return to Earth, Commander Reyes stared out at the assembled ships of the Alliance, a coalition that had formed in mere days around humanity's stand against extinction. The revelation of humanity's possible connection to an ancient advanced civilization added a new dimension to the conflict. The Galactic Council hadn't just feared what humans might become. They had feared what humans might remember. Meanwhile, across Council space, the political situation deteriorated rapidly. Emergency sessions stretched for days as representatives argued over how to respond to the Alliance's formation and Earth's unexpected capabilities. High Arbiter. Drell faced growing dissent within the Council itself. Several species, particularly those with less military power, were openly questioning the wisdom of the sterilization order against Earth. The humans have demonstrated both superior technology and restraint, argued a representative from a peaceful aquatic species. They disabled our ships without destruction. Perhaps we should reconsider our position. The Taurian representative slammed a massive limb down in rage. Appeasement? While they form alliances with dimensional entities and forgotten species, this coalition they're building threatens the very foundation of Council authority. Drell raised a hand for silence. We have failed to contain the human threat and now face a wider rebellion. Our only option is decisive action. He activated a secure communication channel. Deploy the Sundering Fleet, target Sol system. Mission, total sterilization. The Council chamber fell silent. The Sundering Fleet was the Council's most closely guarded secret. Planet-killer weapons developed for existential threats, never before used in the Council's long history. High Arbiter, whispered an aide. Are you certain? Once deployed, there is no recall. Drell's skin darkened with grim determination. The infection spreads. We must cut it out at the source, Earth itself. Across the galaxy, the Sundering Fleet awakened, massive vessels hidden in the cores of dying stars. Weapons designed not just to destroy worlds, but to shatter reality itself at targeted locations. As Commander Reyes and his team rushed back to Earth with their discovery about humanity's possible ancient legacy, neither side knew that the conflict was about to escalate beyond anything they had. The atmosphere in Luna Command was electric with tension as Admiral Voss, Director Nakamura, and General Rivera studied the holographic projection of the approaching Sundering Fleet. Intelligence from Alliance sources had revealed the true nature of these weapons. They weren't designed merely to destroy planets but to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. Arrival at Sol system. Perimeter in 7 hours, reported a tactical officer, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Dr. Petrova's face appeared on a secondary screen. She was broadcasting from the Jupiter Gate facility, where she had been working non-stop with Concordat scientists. We've analyzed the Zenthi data Commander Reyes brought back, she said without preamble. The archaeological evidence is undeniable. Human DNA contains markers identical to recovered samples from First Dominion sites. We are their descendants, or at least related to them. Nakamura rubbed his temples. So the Council's fear of us was based on more than just our expansion rate. They recognized us at some fundamental level. That's not all, continued Petrova. We've been examining the ancient technology recovered from the Mars site. It's not just similar to First Dominion designs, it is First Dominion technology. And it wasn't a crashed ship as we thought. It was a beacon, designed to activate once humanity reached a certain technological threshold. The implications were staggering. Humanity's rapid advancement might not have been entirely natural. They had been receiving subtle guidance from technology left behind by their ancestors. This changes our strategic approach, said Admiral Voss. If the Council is willing to deploy planet killers against us, they're beyond diplomatic solutions. We need to activate the Lazarus Protocol fully. General Rivera looked grim. That was always meant to be a last resort. And now we're there, replied Voss. Begin the evacuation of critical population centers to hardened shelters. All fleet assets to defensive positions and, she paused, looking at each person in the room. Prepare the Prometheus device for deployment. The Prometheus device was Earth's most closely guarded secret, a weapon designed based on First Dominion principles, capable of opening a controlled dimensional rift large enough to swallow entire fleets. They had never tested it at full scale. As preparations accelerated, Commander Reyes and Dr. Khan were working frantically in a different section of Luna Command, analyzing a chamber discovered beneath the lunar surface just days earlier. The chamber contained First Dominion technology, including what appeared to be a communication device of unprecedented sophistication. If we're right about this, said Khan, making final adjustments to the ancient device, it should allow us to broadcast directly into dimensional space across the entire galaxy simultaneously. And if we're wrong? Asked Reyes. Khan gave him a tight smile. Then we've wasted precious time while planet killers head for Earth. She activated the device. The chamber filled with shifting light patterns as the machine powered up for the first time in 50,000 years. Khan's neural implants interfaced with the system, allowing her to input the carefully crafted message they had prepared, a distress call to any remaining First Dominion outposts that might exist in dimensional pockets beyond the Council's reach. Broadcast initiated, she reported. Now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Across Council space, dimensional rifts began opening simultaneously, not the controlled, surgical breaches used in earlier battles, but massive tears in reality. From these rifts emerged vessels of stunning design, gleaming with technology far beyond anything seen in the current galaxy. The First Dominion had not been extinct. They had been hiding, watching, waiting for their descendants to rediscover their heritage. In the Galactic Council chamber, alarms blared as reports flooded in from across controlled space. High Arbiter Drell watched in mounting horror as the holographic displays showed First Dominion ships emerging everywhere, neutralizing Council defenses with contemptuous ease. Impossible, he whispered. They were eradicated. Our ancestors made certain of it. Your ancestors failed, came a voice from behind him. Drell turned to find a human standing in the Council chamber, not physically present, but projected somehow with perfect fidelity. It was Admiral Voss, but something about her was different. Her eyes glowed with internal light, and when she spoke, harmonics layered her voice. The First Dominion never fell, she said, walking toward Drell. They transcended, moved their civilization into dimensional space beyond your reach, left behind guardians to watch over their younger relatives, humans, until we were ready to remember our heritage. Around the chamber, other projections appeared, humans interfaced with First Dominion technology. Their consciousness expanded beyond normal limits. Your sundering fleet has been neutralized, continued Voss. Your military installations are under our control. The lie that has been the foundation of Council power for millennia has been exposed to every species in the galaxy. Drell's skin paled to near transparency. What do you want? Justice, replied Voss, but not revenge. The Council will be dissolved. A new galactic governance will be established, one where all species have representation, where technological development isn't suppressed, where sterilization is forever abolished as policy. Back at the Jupiter Gate, reality itself seemed to bend as the massive dimensional portal expanded to unprecedented size. Through it came the vanguard of the First Dominion fleet, ships that dwarfed even the largest Council vessels, their designs blending physical and dimensional technology seamlessly. The lead ship established communication with Luna Command. On the main display appeared a being that looked almost human, but with subtle differences, slightly elongated features, eyes with vertical pupils, skin with a faint luminescence. People of Earth, the being said in perfect English. I am Sentinel Theron of the First Dominion Preservation Force. We have monitored your development since your early history. The beacon on Mars was placed to guide you toward rediscovering your heritage when you were ready. Director Nakamura stepped forward. Are we humans truly your descendants? In a manner of speaking, replied Theron. When the Council predecessors began their campaign of extermination against us, we seeded many worlds with modified genetic material, versions of ourselves adapted to develop naturally on each planet. Earth received one such seeding approximately 300,000 years ago. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not evolved entirely naturally. They had been guided, their potential encoded in their very DNA by an ancient civilization seeking to preserve itself against genocide. The Council believes they hunted us to extinction, continued Theron. In reality, most of our civilization transcended into dimensional space, but we left behind watchers and seeds like humanity to ensure our legacy would continue in physical space as well. General Rivera looked suspicious. If you've been watching us all this time, why not reveal yourselves sooner? Why let us struggle alone? You needed to develop independently, Theron explained, to face challenges and overcome them through your own ingenuity. Had we intervened too soon, you would have become dependent on us rather than growing into your own potential. A slight smile, and you have exceeded even our expectations in many ways. As the conversation continued, reports came in from across the galaxy. The sudden appearance of First Dominion forces had completely shifted the balance of power. Council military installations found themselves surrounded by technology they couldn't hope to match. Several Council species had already announced their withdrawal from the conflict, recognizing the futility of resistance. In the Council chamber, the holographic projection of Admiral Voss, enhanced by First Dominion technology, addressed the assembled representatives. You stand at a crossroads, she told them. Continue this path of aggression and face defeat, or help us build something better. The Alliance of Free Species offers you peace, not submission, not extinction, but partnership in a new galactic order. Drell looked around at the representatives of hundreds of species. Many were already nodding in agreement with the humans' words. Others looked uncertain but no longer hostile. The High Arbiter realized that the Council's age of dominance was over. Whether through war or peace, change was coming to the galaxy. We will consider your terms, he said finally. Back in Earth's solar system, as First Dominion ships took up defensive positions alongside human vessels, Admiral Voss's consciousness returned fully to her body in Luna Command. She staggered slightly, the experience of being temporarily merged with First Dominion technology leaving her disoriented. Are you all right? Asked Nakamura, supporting her. She nodded slowly. Better than all right. I saw everything, their history, their knowledge. It's overwhelming but also familiar somehow, like remembering something long forgotten. Commander Reyes and Dr. Khan entered the command center, both looking equally affected by their interaction with the ancient technology. The First Dominion representatives want to begin cultural exchange immediately, reported Khan. They're particularly interested in human art, music, literature, the ways we've developed independently from their influence. Nakamura looked around at his team, then at the display showing Earth, blue and peaceful against the blackness of space, now protected by the combined forces of humanity and their newly revealed ancestors. 3 weeks ago we faced extinction. The new Galactic Assembly Chamber bore little resemblance to the intimidating Council Hall, where Admiral Voss had first declared war 3 months earlier. Instead of rising tiers designed to emphasize hierarchy, representatives from over 400 species sat in a circular arrangement that symbolized equality. At the center stood a holographic projection of the Milky Way, slowly rotating, a reminder of what they were working to protect and govern together. Admiral Voss, now bearing the title of Earth Representative, took her position as the Assembly prepared to ratify the Galactic Charter, the founding document of this new interstellar governance. Beside her stood Sentinel Theron of the First Dominion and Nexus of the Veiled Concordat. Across the chamber sat High Arbiter Drell, no longer the voice of absolute authority but now one representative among many. The transition had not been entirely peaceful. Several hardline council species, led by the Taurians, had refused to recognize the new order. A short but intense conflict had followed, ending when a combined fleet of human, First Dominion and Alliance vessels surrounded the Taurian homeworld. Rather than the sterilization the Taurians had advocated for others, they had been offered terms, disarmament and integration into the new galactic community. Most had accepted the reality of their situation. A few Taurian warships had fled to the Galactic Rim, where they remained in self-imposed exile. The Assembly will come to order, announced Director Nakamura, who had been chosen as the interim facilitator for these historic proceedings. His neural implants now incorporated First Dominion technology, allowing him to process and coordinate the complex proceedings with dozens of different species simultaneously. Before us is the final draft of the Galactic Charter, he continued. 3 core principles form its foundation: the right of all sentient species to exist without threat of extinction, the right to technological and cultural development without artificial suppression, and the commitment to resolve disputes through the assembly rather than through force. Around the chamber, translation systems ensured every representative understood perfectly. Gone were the days when the Council's language had been forced upon all other species as the standard. "Are there any final statements before ratification?" asked Nakamura. Admiral Voss stood. "Earth wishes to address the assembly." She walked to the center of the chamber, standing within the holographic galaxy. The symbolism was not lost on anyone present, a human at the heart of this new galactic order. 3 months ago, I stood before the Council and declared war rather than accept humanity's extinction, she began. Today I stand before you to declare peace. Not a peace based on dominance or fear, but on mutual respect and cooperation. She gestured to the galaxy spinning around her. We have all learned difficult truths. The Council species have learned that suppression breeds rebellion. Humanity has learned that our origins and potential are greater than we imagined. The First Dominion has learned that isolation, even for protection, leads to stagnation. Her gaze found Drell among the representatives. And together we have learned that evolution, of species, of societies, of governance, cannot and should not be controlled. It must be guided with wisdom and patience. From his position at the edge of the chamber, Commander Reyes watched with pride. In the 3 months since the revelation of humanity's connection to the First Dominion, he had led the cultural integration team, helping humans process the staggering implications of their heritage while ensuring they maintained their unique identity. Dr. Khan stood beside him, her neural implants now significantly enhanced with First Dominion technology. She's doing well, she whispered. The vote will pass, Reyes nodded. And then the real work begins. In the center of the chamber, Voss was concluding her address. Earth did not seek galactic leadership, but we accept our role in building this new order. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as catalysts for change that was long overdue. She stepped back and Nexus moved forward, its crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. The veiled Concordat wishes to address the final matter before ratification, it said, harmonics resonating through the space. The question of dimensional integration. This had been one of the most contentious issues in drafting the charter. How to incorporate beings that existed partly or wholly in dimensional space different from conventional reality. The Concordat and other dimensional entities had been excluded entirely under Council rule. We propose the establishment of nexus points throughout the galaxy, continued the crystalline entity, gates similar to the Jupiter facility, allowing free movement and communication between dimensional realms and physical space. With proper regulation, this will enrich all our civilizations immeasurably. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was further than many had expected the integration to go. Several former Council species shifted uncomfortably. High Arbiter Drell rose from his seat, his translucent skin now bearing the marks of recent stress. The Moldari delegation wishes to address this proposal. The chamber quieted. Drell had been one of the most vocal opponents of humanity, yet had shown surprising adaptability in the new order. For millennia, the Council feared dimensional contact, he said, his voice subdued compared to the commanding tone he had used in the Council chamber. We were taught that such interaction would destabilize our reality. Now we know this was another deception, a way to prevent us from encountering the First Dominion and other beings who might challenge Council authority. He paused, seeming to struggle with his next words. The Moldari support the establishment of nexus points with appropriate safety protocols. We cannot undo our history of fear and suppression, but we can learn from it. The statement sent a wave of surprise through the assembly. If even Drell could embrace such change, perhaps this new order truly had a chance of succeeding. The vote that followed was nearly unanimous. The Galactic Charter was ratified, and with it, the new assembly officially replaced the Council as the governing body of known space. As the session concluded, Admiral Voss found herself approached by an unexpected figure, the Taurian representative, whose massive exoskeletal form dwarfed her. Admiral, the Taurian said, mandibles clicking softly. My species was prepared to exterminate yours without hesitation. Yet when you gained the power to do the same to us, you offered peace instead. Why? Voss looked up at the towering being. Because the cycle has to end somewhere, she replied simply. Extinction is a permanent solution to temporary problems. And because humanity remembers what it feels like to stand on the brink of annihilation, we wouldn't inflict that on others, even former enemies. The Taurian was silent for a moment, then inclined its massive head slightly, a gesture of respect in their culture before moving away. Later, in the Earth embassy established on the assembly station, Voss met with her team to discuss next steps. The room was a blend of human design and First Dominion technology, comfortable furnishings alongside holographic interfaces of impossible complexity. The development assistance programs are ready to launch, reported General Rivera, particularly for species whose technological growth was artificially suppressed by the Council. We're prioritizing medical and environmental technologies first. Director Nakamura nodded approval. And the dimensional integration? Dr. Petrova, now heading the combined Human First Dominion Scientific Division, brought up a holographic display showing proposed nexus points throughout the galaxy. First phase includes 15 major locations. Construction begins next week. The Concordat has been incredibly forthcoming with technical specifications. What about Earth itself? Asked Commander Reyes. Our people are still processing everything that's happened. 3 months ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're at the center of a galactic revolution and discovering we're descendants of an ancient, advanced civilization. Voss smiled slightly. We've adapted remarkably well, all things considered. Humans have always been good at absorbing the impossible and making it part of our story. Speaking of story, said Dr. Khan, the First Dominion historians have been working with our archaeologists. They've begun reconstructing the true history of the galaxy, not the sanitized version the Council propagated for millennia. It will take years to complete, but already it's revealing patterns we should learn from. Nakamura stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. The Council suppressed technologies they couldn't control. They eliminated species that developed too quickly. They rewrote history to maintain their authority, and all of it ultimately failed, as such efforts always must. He turned back to his team. Our job now is to build something that doesn't require lies and suppression to function. Something sustainable and fair. No small task, said Admiral Voss with a wry smile. No, agreed Nakamura, but we have something the Council never had. What's that? Asked Rivera, perspective. We know what it's like to be both powerful and vulnerable, to face extinction and then gain the means to inflict it. To discover that everything we believed about our origins was incomplete. In the months that followed, the new galactic order began to take shape. Nexus points opened across the galaxy, allowing unprecedented cultural and technological exchange. Former Council species found themselves free to develop in ways long forbidden to them. The Alliance members, once